and welcome to Girls with Goals. I'm Niamh Maher and I am delighted to welcome my guest to studio this week. Aisling Mahan is with us. Aisling is the General Manager at Her.ie D2 as well as the co-founder at Startup Grind Dublin. Aisling, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we're going to start the same way that we always start, which is with our game. So it's called 6 Words or Less, and it's for any of our listeners and readers and viewers of the show who may not know who you are. So you have to describe yourself in 6 words or less, so in your own time.
Okay, I am an open-minded person of extremes.
Oh, I love that. Open-minded person of extremes.
Yeah.
What do you mean by extremes?
Where do we go from there?
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that either loves something or hates something. And that applies to all areas of my life. So it's why I believe I need to love what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't find it meaningful. And I would strive to find a purpose, I think.
Wow, okay, so nothing really in between for Aisling.
No, which isn't always a good thing, but it means that when I love something, I will put all of my heart and soul into it, and I'm super passionate. It also means sometimes I'm really bad at small talk because I'm quite intense, and I like to discuss issues that I care about. So there's kind of pluses and minuses to that.
I think that's a great thing. I don't like small talk, but not that...
There you go. Maybe you are a person of extremes too.
Maybe, but I think it's more so I'm just really bad at small talk, as in I need to have like a certain amount of time with someone. If it's just small talk and then you go, I'm like, no, I want to know more from you. That's why I'm really bad at schmoozing. You know that word, schmoozing?
But you see, I'm good at schmoozing because it's important for my job, and also because I like to
me
be
too. I'm really good at
pleasant and kind to people. So it's not that I'm rude, it's just that I can feel when I'm not really into something.
Yeah. I mean, I think to give a little bit of context as well as why I wanted to have you on the show, you were recently on our panel for our Make a Fuss event, which is kind of a career entrepreneurial live event that we have on Her.ie. And I also know you as well because we went to school together.
We did.
So in case anybody doesn't know, Sansabina for life. Oh my God, I'm going to get so slagged for that.
You're wearing the Sansabina colours as well.
I know. That was not intentional. But I want to kind of explain to people a little bit. That was the first time that I saw you in probably 14, 15 years.
Adult.
As an adult, yeah. And it was also the first time I saw you kind of speak about your profession. And so for our listeners and our readers, tell us a little bit about how you got to the position that you're in now.
Okay, so I went to college, was it 9 years ago? We went to college.
A certain amount of time ago.
No,
Let's not give
we
it away.
graduated 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so I studied commerce and French in UCD. Always knew that I didn't want to go down the Big Four route, but really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was always drawn to early stage businesses, the more kind of creative aspect of business, and really hated anything around kind of accounting, tax, finance even. Yeah. And what I'd say is I really don't think college preps people for the road less travelled, if you will. So I was kind of lost. So I ended up, doing a master's in Smurfit, which was amazing and really, really worth the investment. And then I went and I worked for Enterprise Ireland, which is the government agency that supports early stage Irish startups. So we worked with startups who were looking at the UK as their overseas market. And I was based in London, and I loved that job. So I just loved the variety of it. I loved helping people. I loved understanding businesses. I loved the challenge of never knowing what sector you were going to be working with. So you're constantly challenged to open your mind and, study new markets. And also being based in London, it just opens up so many routes because you have different cultures, different nationalities, and I'm just obsessed with how big the world is and countries that we don't necessarily talk about or that wouldn't be represented in Ireland. So I always knew that I wanted to work in startup land with inspiring founders doing different things. And that theme has kind of woven its way throughout my life, I guess, and it's led me eventually to leading Her.ie in Ireland. So Her.ie is a UK company, and we support early stage startups and scale-ups in growing their businesses. So we have almost 380 people working from an amazing, beautiful building down on Pier Street, and we work with founders to support their early stage ideas, watch them grow, and support their growth within the building.
I always find it so interesting. You said there about kind of the theme that ran through your career. I always find that an interesting aspect of anybody's professional career, because I think back to like our school days, and you're so young to kind of be trying to figure out what you want to do, and when you turn 17, 18, and then you have to kind of slap it on a CAO form, even harder to kind of decipher. I think I lucked out. Like, I always knew that I wanted to do journalism, so that was just kind of the thing that I wanted to do. But for some people it's really hard, and you said that your master's was definitely like a good investment, but what would you say to people who maybe it doesn't click with straight away, like maybe it did for me, or
oh my God,
perhaps
take your
for
time.
you?
I think that there's no template for life, and it's quite unrealistic to think that there would be. So don't panic. You don't have to do what everyone else does. Find the thing that you love doing and do more of it, and then just take the time, invest in yourself for a little bit. Maybe go traveling. I think that's great. I've always said I would never regret traveling. So if I were ever lost, I would probably go off for a few months and just, be a digital nomad. I hate that term, but you know what I mean?
I've never heard that term,
it's when, nomad. You see all these ads of beautiful people in Bali with their laptops in like gorgeous coffee shops.
Yeah.
So, I would say that. And I know that seems quite simplistic, but it just kind of comes to you, you know? I think we're so hard on ourselves because we compare ourselves constantly to other people. And I'm a big believer in just competing with yourself. So competing with yourself this time last year versus some random person you see online who has no impact on your life ever.
I mean, it takes the pressure off as well, because, obviously we all put pressure on ourselves, and like, I'm definitely a competitive person, but I think if you are, not comparing yourself to other people, that's definitely going to stand to you, because you're never, like, not that you're never going to stand up to people, but what do you get at the end of competing with someone? Like, nobody puts you on a podium anymore, like, and say you won.
Fizzles out as well.
Yeah.
Oprah is amazing for this. So she always talks about just focusing on her business, and that's why she was so successful. So I'm inspired by amazing people like Oprah, who, they know they have competition, but they're just so focused on what they're doing that they don't have time because it's kind of inconsequential.
You were also you led the Women in Tech program at the Web Summit as well for a while. So, I mean, is it fair to say that you have definitely held kind of high-powered positions in terms of the amount of pressure? And I'm kind of getting to this time of year and dealing with pressures and stress when it comes to work, because I always find that this time of year is completely manic, and I think that it's a time of year when a lot of things can get in on people, and when, stress can really come to the forefront. Have you ever been in different positions throughout your career where you felt complete and utter stress, and how did you deal with that?
Yes, completely. So probably I've always been a stressed person, even when we were doing our leaving cert. I found that really, that was probably the most stressful period actually of my life so far. But
Really? The leaving cert?
Yeah.
You just seemed so...
No, I don't like the
calm.
kind of pressure all being in 1 week, and I just need things to be like spread out. Anyway, yeah, definitely. I think whenever you work for a startup company, especially when you have a direct impact on revenue and the cash that's coming in, you are very aware of whether we're going to get paid this month, or whether you're going to be able to keep the lights on, or and that's real. So I've never really worked for a company where, I've never worked for a corporate. So, I mean, I've always been very secure, but what could happen. So, and you're always really invested. So you want everything to go according to plan, and it's your baby, and you're so proud of what you do. So you don't want it to fail. And so the first time I really experienced that probably was when I was living in Asia, in Hong Kong. I was 26, and I was working in China. So I was based in Hong Kong, but commuting to mainland China. And I really, looking back, didn't really know what I was doing. But I just threw myself in, and I was excited about the opportunity. But I had this imposter syndrome that I was going to be caught out. And I really was kind of obsessed with this idea of like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm going to do. And instead of just taking things one step at a time. And then I discovered yoga, and I haven't really been as stressed since. Not to say I don't suffer stress and anxiety, of course I do, everyone does, but I have tools now to manage that, and I love helping others do that too. That's really what I'm very inspired by and passionate about.
I was going to nicely segue into
Yes.
yoga, but you did it for me. Thank you so much. So yoga, you've said, and it was kind of one of the things that you spoke about at the Make a Fuss event as well. It's something that has had a huge impact on your life, and you said that you found it when you were in Asia. So, I mean, was it just that you went to a class one day? No, of course.
Quite literally found it. I was living in the cutest part of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is such a beautiful city. It's so much more, or country even, more than just skyscrapers. So there was this gorgeous little studio at the end of my road, and I had gotten up really early on a Sunday morning, and I was kind of like, like really far from home, didn't really have any friends, and I just kind of saw this really cute studio, and I went in, did a class, and something just clicked with me. I think in yoga, it's so much depends on the teacher that you have. So if you have a connection with that person, it can be really powerful. So I still am in touch with that teacher today, and we always WhatsApp and like Skype and stuff. So there's just kind of a connection that you wouldn't necessarily get if you're going to the gym or, you know, a different kind of sport.
Do you feel like it's made an impact on your professional life as well?
Oh, totally, yeah, because it's a way of life, and it's everything from how you approach things, how you break down challenges. You become so much more self-aware because a lot of yoga is in stillness. So you're kind of forced to be introspective, and you learn to read yourself, and you begin to identify things like destructive behaviors or times when you don't feel at ease, and you can either work to help you feel better or maybe avoid those situations if you can. So it applies itself to every area of life and work. And I'm really lucky that we have a yoga studio in Huckletree, so I can teach there. And it's just really brought everyone together, and we've got a solid yoga crew, and then we work together too. So
that's incredible. So did you approach them and say, you know, I want to do this, or was that something that was there and you were like, well, I'll definitely teach here?
So when I came on board, I was halfway through my yoga teacher training, and when I got the job, we had just signed the lease on the building, so there was no design and fit out done, and we were looking at the floor plans, and I said, I think that would be a really cool yoga studio.
Yeah. And so
So
do you do it
I
in the
came on
mornings?
board from day one, and I was really heavily involved in all of that.
Yeah.
So leading the business from day one in a new market. So I was quite lucky because otherwise I don't think I would teach yoga as much, because it's just another commitment, and I probably wouldn't want that.
So it's kind of, it's there, it's where you're...
It's a gift. It's just something that I, do with people because I love doing it.
It's incredible because like me and a few of my work colleagues, we've kind of dipped in and out of doing things like that. There's a yoga studio just around the corner, and it's a lovely one, and sometimes we would go at lunchtime, and sometimes we'd go and do Pilates and stuff like this, but we don't have a dedicated thing in the building that we can do like 3 or 4 times a week. So I'd say it's really good as well, just for the mindset of people who are working there and for mental health.
Yeah, they're all super stressed. They're...
because startups, right, as well.
Exactly, and they really need it. And I like teaching them things that they can bring out with them and maybe teach other people. So really like simple shoulder exercises, breathing, stuff they can do at their desk or around their desk, so that it's not a case of them having to get into their yoga gear every day. Obviously we do our classes, but if they're suddenly, feeling like, I need a bit of a break, they can take 5. They can either meditate, or they can sit at their desk. They can do some like shoulder shrugs, or get up and do some arm stretches. And you can even do some of them when you're out and about, when you're in the Lewis or whatever. So it's just kind of about introducing a new practice to someone, but also giving people coping mechanisms too.
Yeah, and just taking a breath as well.
Totally, yeah.
I always feel like, especially with the kind of people that you're working with, obviously a startup, I've interviewed a few people who've been involved in startups that have gone on to incredible things, and then other times that haven't necessarily succeeded. I also think as well, around this time of year with the new year coming in, it seems to be the time that people start to think about their careers and think about whether they're truly professionally fulfilled. Obviously you're dealing with people and you're working with people who have made that jump and who've made that leap into, say, starting a business. How do you know, or how do you think people ever really know if they're truly professionally fulfilled?
Oh, it's so obvious. I I think it's unrealistic to say that they get up every morning like, yes, you know, let's take this day. And I was talking about this the other night with someone. I hate the question, like, what makes you get out of bed in the morning? It's like, my alarm clock. Like, you know, it's not that I'm...
It's sometimes those quotes as well that
yeah,
drive me a bit mental.
But I'm terrible for affirmations. Like, I'm wearing this, like, affirmation T-shirt, basically.
Phenomenal woman. But sometimes I find that hard to relate to at 6 a.m.
You have to be realistic, right? Professionally fulfilled, I would say if they're happy, if they're content, and if they believe in what they're doing. So if they have a vision and if they stick to it. So your vision is basically your purpose, and it reminds you constantly of why you started what you started. So we would always kind of try and remind people of that. So if they're having a crap day or if they've had to do loads of menial tasks, you always know why. So and there's no ambiguity, so everyone on your team knows why, which can be really difficult as you grow into a bigger company. And if you're having a day where you have to do loads of admin, or you know you're the CEO and you've had to like clean the kitchen or whatever, you know, those kind of things, you always know why you're doing it. Yeah. And then it's equally important to know when to give up, because that's another kind of skill too. And you can try again, you can do something else. So if you're building something and the market's telling you there's no room for it, you also have to have the humility to accept that and just, you know, learn from it and then move on.
That's the other
Again,
thing.
easier said than done.
I mean, it's kind of the exact opposite of what I just asked. The other question of like, how do you know when you're in the wrong job, and how do you know, like, have you ever been in a position throughout your career where something just wasn't sitting right with you? I feel like sometimes, now I know, you know, I can't speak for a man's intuition, but I sometimes feel like a woman's intuition can be incredibly strong. And sometimes I've heard from people, and I felt it myself throughout my career, that maybe I'm not doing the thing that I'm meant to be doing. What would you say to people who might be having those feelings? And have you ever felt those yourself?
Not really. I don't think I really have. I'd say maybe in between jobs, but never so unhappy that I would be worried. Or I'm quite good at being realistic about things. I know that I'm not going to love every single minute of every single work day because it's hard, and that's why you've chosen to do it. I would say I'm quite good at listening to my gut instinct. So maybe like personally, I would be more aware of that, but professionally not really. I would say like be realistic about it. So obviously if you've got kids and a mortgage, you can't just kind of walk away from something. But if you have less responsibilities, again, see if you can try something different, or take up a passion project and do something on the side. So if, for example, I wanted to become a full-time yoga teacher, I wouldn't give up my job tomorrow because that would be really stupid. So I would probably host a few workshops, see what the demand was, see if people would pay me for my service, and then work out how much I would, you know, get on a monthly basis, annually, and decide if it was worth it. But I don't want to do that. I'm kind of not drawn to yoga for commercial means at all. It's my gift, and I actually feel very strongly that I wouldn't want to be motivated
by money.
And I don't know why. It's just in that area of my life. I'm not.
That's incredible. I'd love to not be motivated by money for a lot of things.
No, not that I'm not.
Entirely,
but in my, you know, in my side project.
Yeah, well, there's a commercial side to everything, I suppose. So you've written as well a little bit about your relationship with social media, and I really want to talk to you about that, but we're going to take a really quick break now. So a host of Irish musicians have come together and they've joined forces as Streetlights to release Homeward Bound, which is a cover of the Simon and Garfunkel classic, and it's all to raise funds for the most vulnerable in our society, which are homeless people. So I was joined earlier by Sinead Troy and Aoife Woodlock, a couple of the producers who are behind this project. The Streetlights Collective is a group of Irish musicians that are doing something pretty special this Christmas, and it's all in order to raise funds for the most vulnerable in our society, which are homeless people. So they've just released their single, which is a cover of the absolute cracker that is Simon and Garfunkel's Homeward Bound. The track listing for the album has also been released, so there's an album, there's a group, it's all taking off. So here to tell us more is Sinead Troy and Aoife Woodlock. Firstly, ladies, you're very welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves before we get into talking about the Streetlights Collective and what you guys are doing there. So tell us about your own careers in the music industry.
Well, we both work in music and have done for a very long time, actually all our lives really, that's where we met. I run a songwriters association called ISCA and a digital delivery service from music to media called Yangaroo. And basically I work on behalf of Irish musicians and artists and have done for 10 years now. ISCA's 10 years old. So, you know, we're both best friends, but we're both industry professionals.
Okay. Aoife, what about your own career?
My career started out in animation. I was 4 years in feature film animation in Sullivan Bluth, where I kind of grew up there, a bit of an animated playground, and left and did some college-y bits and begged this woman called Bernadette Barrett to let me help her out on work experience in the early 90s. And she was in the Ormond Multimedia Centre, and Bernadette lived with Sinead. And so I badgered her, she took me on as her assistant. The Ormond is now the Morrison Hotel.
Yeah.
And I met Sinead through Ben, and went from the Ormond to manage the Temple Bar Music Centre, because that was being built while the Ormond was raving away. And then went from the music, I was in the music centre for 10 years.
Wow.
And then left. Snow Patrol was my last gig. And Philip King rang me. He was on the board of directors of the Temple Bar Trust, the Temple Bar Cultural Trust. And he said, look, we want to make other voices a bit international. Would you be interested? So I'm 14 years music producer for The Voices.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Irish music industry for a little bit before we get on to this, because I think like with the Streetlights Collective, you've brought together a huge host of incredible Irish artists to do something like this. But just tell us the scandal behind it more so. So like, what's the music industry like? Do you guys... is it really as small as people say? Do you all know each other in the music industry? In Ireland in particular?
It is. It's pretty tiny. Yeah, it's pretty tiny.
Is a heavy word for it.
Yeah.
What is it?
Even industry is a...
really?
You know, we're an island.
We are an island, but it's a tough little industry at the moment in that, you know, it's gone from sales into digital, and, you know, the bigger companies are trying to figure out how to make money, let alone the smallies. And we have an awful lot of musicians and artists in this country, I would say per capita, than anyone else in the world.
And so how is that changing for the musicians specifically?
It's just everyone's on the road, because the only place that you can earn is on the road.
Right.
So everyone's on the road, and if you notice any of the gigs that are being announced this year, like right now, all the Ivy Gardens, all the Corks, all the festivals, everybody's on the road. So the actual festival lineups are amazing because everyone's on the road and everyone wants to earn. But if you're a smaller artist, it's much tougher to get through that noise.
And I mean, obviously there's a huge talent in this country. Like that's the beautiful thing. Like we're known for, the big names that have kind of made it in the music industry. Is it putting people off trying to get into the music industry because it's so tough at the moment?
I don't think so. I think if you're a music writer, you're a music writer. You know, I think if you have that talent, you don't know any different anyway. So there's a brilliant BIM college. Like the BIM college is like fame school. It's incredible if you ever get a chance to get into it. And they're just honing this talent in there of all these incredible, I think there's 400 or 500 students in BIM at any one time over 4 years.
Yeah.
So they have all these amazing Irish writers teaching them songwriting. And and also, just because that's what's going on in Ireland doesn't mean you can't go somewhere else and do it. You know?
Absolutely. So your friends and your music producers and industry professionals, so tell us about where this idea for the Streetlights Collective, was it a single originally before it turned into an album? So how did that start?
Keith Troy is an activist, a Dublin guy, approached Luca Bloom and said, it would be a good idea to do a Christmas single. And Luca knows Sinead very well and works for her in ISCA. And Sinead came to me, and I was at home after an operation on my knee. And Sinead sat across the kitchen table and said, right, I've something to talk to you about, and I only want you to do it. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And she says, there's a single. And I had a tentative project regarding direct provision. So I said, look, I can't do both. And the DP one will be next year, and I took this on for Sinead. She very seldom asks for anything in that way, and I just thought, okay, I'll do it. And the song, I produced the Rock Against Homelessness for Barry Egan in the Olympia in April, last April. And this, to make homeless and the homeless people and the High Hopes Choir the focus, rather than putting on 10 bands all out to sing, I made them the focus and got everybody to give them a song to rehearse. So on the night they were the narrative of the night, rather than just a 10-band thing. Not there's anything wrong with that,
of course.
But it just kind of lost it's about them, so have them involved. And one of the rehearsals, I was sitting off Capel Street, and they were singing Homeward Bound, and I was looking at them. I was like, oh my God, they're singing Homeward Bound, and they love it. And I spoke to one of them, and she said that they just adored that song. And I said, what does singing mean for you? What does all of this, since David Brophy started this years ago, what does it mean? And she said that singing gave her confidence, and confidence gave her hope.
Yeah.
And I said, did hope not come first? And she said, no, the confidence came before the hope.
Wow.
And that blew me away. That in order to have what would be a normal feeling as a human being, that you need confidence to have it. And I'd never, ever thought about that before. So I just thought, wow, that's, I thought it was very profound, really, that you had to have something to have what would be natural to people, being hopeful or being joy. Or so I said to Sinead, I've got the song. Yeah, it's Homeward Bound. And, we thought, should we do an Irish song? But Homeward Bound is international. And when I went to see Paul Simon, every generation was there. I was there with my mother. It's a generational song. It's not,
everyone knows it.
It's a beautiful song. Artists adore it. Guitarists, Colm Queerney, adored playing on it. So it's the vocalists love singing the lines. So the song was kind of a no-brainer because it didn't have to think too hard about that. And then Janine and the record label, Sinead put a great structure around the whole thing, and Janine Nallen was putting the record out, and she was like, if it's money you want to make, a single's not going to do the job. So then Sinead, ring, it's got to be an album.
Wow, okay.
I was like, are you effing joking me? Like, it's like at this point, 9 weeks to Christmas.
Everyone has their full-time jobs. Like, we were both full-time anyway, so it's just like...
And this was only in September, right? This wasn't
only in September, yeah.
And so an album means 15 songs, obviously.
Yeah,
so
it means 15 artists first.
Yeah.
And it means making 15 calls to 15 managers. And then on top, you see, every song has a manager, an artist has a manager, but then there's a label and a publisher. People own those tracks.
Right.
So
a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
That goes into something like this. But what was the reaction when you kind of got in touch with these artists originally?
I mean, Bono said yes. Do you know what I mean? So it was great.
Yeah.
Like it's Snow Patrol have been leading the charge on this. They're old friends, but they're darlings. Like the other night in the 3 Arena, they donated their guest list, street lights, all guest list profits, and people had to donate.
Wow.
I went up and I said, I'm not donating. I've donated 3 months.
4 years.
And Rory Murphy's there. But it's But it's, so artists get it. The thing about it is you have to be very careful working with musicians. You can only ask so many times.
Yeah, so many favours.
We couldn't go back next year and approach those artists because they have given up their time to come into the Camden studios to do the song, then come into R.ie and do the video. And then we want them to do promo. Yeah. And this is all their free time and so it's very difficult
it's almost about the moving pieces and getting them all lined up and timings and so sometimes they can't.
Yeah,
it's a natural thing.
Mission PR this week is just like she's we don't have artists available like you would an album, So I manage Kathy Davey and so I have Kathy for the 2 weeks around the release of an album, and so it's like an interview here, interview there, whatever, and that's fine. But when it's a compilation, it's completely different. So we were like, is anybody around to do this? Is anybody? And Mission PR are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and you know, people will do it when they can because everybody's working.
Of course.
So it's been the release week was chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But brilliant because you know lots of people responded really well, and there's little faces on Matt Cooper or on, you know, Ray Darcy, or you know, there's just people popping up
here and there. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously, you know, the whole objective of it is to raise funds for the homeless. So that's kind of the key thing that you guys want to do.
Like what I wanted to do with it was have 3 different sort of price points. So Homeward Bound is like $129. So that's affordable for an age group, or a certain amount of people, or a certain purse. And then we have a text line as well, which is text streetlights to 50300, and that's a second price point. And then the album is the third price point of €15 or 10 digital. So I just thought there was something there for everybody.
Yeah.
And the idea really was that everyone is frustrated with what's going on. Everyone's aware. So this wasn't about awareness. It was about supporting the 3 charities, and it was absolutely about funds for those heroes that work with our homeless citizens, and they are our homeless citizens, you know, they're our people.
It's a really good point that it's not about raising awareness, you know, like everybody knows.
We're stepping over people in sleeping bags, but it's also about the people that do amazing work, like Peter McFerry is so with the people, rolls up his sleeves, he's completely in there, he's selfless. I just think that man's incredible. Like anybody that does work for charity or is a conscientious citizen is brilliant, because it's better to do something small than do nothing at all. It's like recycling, just do your bit. Yeah. And I don't mean it's like recycling, but the ethos of just do something.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And people are, there's a family that I was made aware of recently in Rathmines who are, both of them work and they have 2 children, and they've a assistance dog, and their rent has gone up, and the landlord is saying he's going to sell in X amount of weeks. So they're out. But both of them work. They've got a car outside the door.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find somewhere because their children are in the local school.
Well, it's the changing face of homelessness, isn't it?
Well, this is it.
It's not just the people, like you said, that you're stepping over. Yeah.
These places support people who are on the brink of stepping out of their home. You know, it's look, you know, you listen, 5 years since the bailout. You look at Ireland now and Ireland then, and what has changed. And are there more Christmas lights up now than there was 5 years ago because people have more disposable income? Yes. But poor people will always be poor. Yeah. They don't get rich in a crash, and they don't. Nothing changes for them. Their level remains the same.
Well, look, I think, like, you know, a thing like this, like everything that people are trying to do for situations like this, it's not going to solve it. It's not going to be fixed overnight. Yeah. But I think that seeing people from different industries come together and do what they can in order...
And do what they know.
And do what they know,
So it is, you know, even one of the artists was going into to Matt Cooper the other day on Today FM, and he was like, I'm just really nervous about it. And I said, listen, if Matt Cooper asks you about homelessness, don't worry about it. It's not your area of expertise, so don't try. You know what I mean? That's not why we're here. We are here absolutely to generate funds for the heroes that already do it.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, when I sat across the table from Aoife's and went, would you? Not one person said no. Yeah. From the whole team out to photographers, videographers. Aoife got her amazing gang, Other Voices gang, in to do the stunning video. Everybody, and the atmosphere was electric, and the High Hopes Choir are centre point all the time, and they are the crack, aren't they? Like, they're little nutters, like they're so brilliant. And the stories, and Glenn, who manages the choir and has worked in Focus Ireland before, but he manages the gang now, and he is a scream in terms of the stories. Yeah. You know, he talks about them. He talks about bringing them on to Cork to a gig on the train, and they started singing in the car, and then everyone from all the carriages kept coming down, going, what's going on down there? Wow. And they were just like, oh my God, there's all this tension, it's amazing. So they're just, if you think about them, you know, it's too hard to think about the hard part. Yeah. I was in Simon Community one day, and when I left, I bawled my lamps out, because I'm like, this is just so hard, how did they do it? But if I think of the High Hopes Choir, that's where I got my energy from in terms of just keeping on going in this project, you know. Absolutely. And it's a very noisy environment out there, which is why interviews like this are amazing. Yeah. Because it's just the more support we have, the better we can do.
Yeah.
So it's not a Christmas record. So this is going to keep on going. Streetlights, maybe Streetlights will do a rap version of Homeward Bound next year. Who knows?
Yeah.
We could have Kate Tempest and Reggie Snow in there doing Homeward Bound.
Amazing.
You know, who knows? But it's
Simon is like on his way to his lawyers.
Yeah, good. Well,
Good, absolutely, yeah. Good. But let's talk about the ways that people can help. You said that there is a text line, so do you want to give that to us one more time? And also, let's drop the names. Who's on the album if they're going to buy it?
She did all that.
so the album starts off with Homeward Bound by the Streetlight Collectives, and on the Homeward Bound we have Kathy Davey Loa, a girl who was in the studio doing backing vocals called Galia, who is now on the video, and she just happened to be there, and now she's like, I'm singing with Bono. Well, how wait till my parents in America see this.
Fabulous.
She's like, wow.
Amazing.
So she's there. Loa Roshino.
Connor.
I love her.
So we have Conor O'Brien, Saint Sister, Little Green Cars, Gary from Snow Patrol, Bono, Colm O'Conumara, Ben Castle, Colm Querney, Rob Malone, Graham Hopkins, Cian Boylan produced and arranged everything. We've the Camden Collective Strings, the High Hope Squire, obviously.
Yeah.
Conor Brady mixed this track, so that's the single.
Yeah.
And then the album is Snow Patrol, Martha Wainwright, Bell X1 singing Rocky Took a Lover, which is about when they lived in Smithfield. There was a homeless guy. And they would give him the nod, and he lived outside. Well, he was near the Capuchin Centre.
Yeah.
And one night they looked out. Bellex one used to live in the same house, and they looked out, and one of them said, "Rocky's took a lover."
He has a lover
because they called him Rocky.
Oh my
and
God.
he was with a lady. So
That's
that's where.
such an amazing story, isn't
So
it? Yeah.
that's well. I hope Paul doesn't mind me sharing that, but that's what that's it's about. Sorry, Paul.
Sorry, Paul.
Another
Sorry, Rocky,
lawyer.
if it didn't
Sorry,
work out.
Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Sorry, Rocky, if it didn't work out. So that's Rocky Took a Lover.
You have the frame.
Damien Dempsey.
Damien Dempsey is Soft Rain, Song of the Year.
Amazing.
If you listen to one song, like Damien Dempsey's Soft Rain is the most beautiful, magical. He's incredible.
Stunning.
It really is an amazing song, and he very generously gave us that. Saint Sister have re-recorded Dream, the Cranberries, Villagers, Richard Hawley and Lisa Hannigan did Hushabye Mountain, which is from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, I love that song.
So we got a number of songs from other voices that we could approve the master.
Yeah.
But
So
also
we
they were
could-
unique, you know, they were
Yeah,
unique,
they're
so they
live.
didn't live anywhere else. They weren't, you know,
Yeah.
because, you know, in the World Wide Web, most songs that have released already live. So if you can give something unique and exclusive
Yeah,
and live.
David Gray. David Gray gave us a song. So it's
Luca
it's
Bloom recorded his for it.
Luca Bloom did a re-recording with Masterson.
Connor?
No, sorry,
Paul.
all the apostles. All the apostles
Just the 12 of
did
them,
Lucas
call
song,
him Masterson.
and it's All I Want is a Room Somewhere,
Oh, okay.
and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he's delighted. Like, he came to Sinead, and it's like crumbs of things gather.
Yeah.
And they can gather into something small and significant, and they can gather and gather and gather and keep going. And that's what nobody had any idea, that we were going to be standing waiting for, like Bono did his piece at home before the Three Arena, and it lands in and
Well, I
it's
knew
like,
that's why I hired her, because she is the only person that could put those amount of fabulous people together.
Yeah.
So there was, you know, that's the reason that she was the, you know, you have to get the best person for the job.
Absolutely. Well, I think you only need to listen to the way in which you guys speak about it. You can tell the passion that comes off of you when you talk about it. So I would say to people who are listening and who are watching as well, that it is 100% worth their while, and also you're doing something good. So it's going directly
good.
to
Very
something.
positive.
Yeah.
If you're feeling frustrated about it, this is something small and very, very significant that you can do.
This
And
is
I
it.
guess it's for the 3 charities.
I think
so
a
it's
lot
not
of
just
people are,
one.
a lot of people are looking to do that, to help, but not necessarily knowing how.
And the €4 is enough.
Yeah.
You know, €4, all the €4 add up, you know, and if that's something you can do from your phone straight away, it's text the word streetlights to 50300. And the majority of that goes towards the 3 charities and straight to them, straight to them, not via us or you know, anything else, straight into them.
Incredible.
360 goes to the charities.
Yeah, amazing.
The rest is there.
Well, Sinead and Aoife, thank you so much for coming in, and best of luck with it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the Streetlights Collective maybe has in the future. Might give you a little break though.
We'll get them in next year, will we?
Yeah.
All 47 of them around the studio.
Absolutely, why not? I think they could fit. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we are back with Aisling Mahon. So Aisling, I remember at the Make a Fuss event, I was tagging you like a madwoman on social media, and I was like, yeah, she's gonna know me from school, hashtag Aisling Mahon, all this kind of stuff. And then I saw that you were on a social media detox, so I was like, right, this is all for nothing. So I was like, she's never gonna see how much I'm complimenting you. But you've admitted that you actually, well, I read an article that you wrote, and you said that you have had a negative relationship with social media. And this was one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about as well, because like I said, this time of year can be incredibly hectic for people. It could be manic professionally, but also just getting your bits. Like Christmas is a stressful time for lots of families. So I want to talk about the kind of added pressure that social media can bring to our lives, and I just thought you would be the perfect person because you've been detoxing a little bit.
I have, and I feel so much better because of it. The first thing is, I know that not everyone feels the same way, so I think that's really important to say. I'm not preaching about it. I'm not in any way, you know, qualified to talk about stats around mental health and social media, but I just know how it made me feel. So I can only speak from personal experience. But it got to a stage where I just was kind of tracking, and again, through yoga, I'm very aware of my feelings and how you know, how things resonate with me. And whenever I go on Instagram in particular, I just wouldn't feel great. And I would be posting pictures for the wrong reasons in a lot of cases. So if I was feeling a bit down, or I don't know, if I had a bad day, I'd post a picture of myself where I thought I looked good, and then I'd get the validation. But then the next day, it wouldn't have any meaning. So
you described it as like a sugar hit, which I thought was so interesting. As in, it's this immediate jolt of affirmation and kind of validation. And then you said that you started to notice, because I don't think a lot of people zone in on after the likes, like what happens next. And it's like, well, actually, it's an addiction because we want to post another picture.
It should just be a beautiful digital photo album.
Yeah.
So it should be the online equivalent of that photo album you had as a teenager. But it started to become something different for me. So I hope that I could go back, and I do want to go back, and think of all those messages I've missed.
Oh my God, DMs
People have been sliding into my DMs. So I do want to go back, but it also made me realise that I was having kind of a lot of fake engagement with people, and I was losing touch with people that I really cared about. So I now have to pick up the phone and call someone, or send them a WhatsApp, or send them a picture that I think they would like, rather than posting on Instagram and hoping they would see it. And it's reopened a lot of kind of channels of communication for me.
What was it like originally? Like, I want to kind of break this down, because I'm trying to think about how I would do if I was to do this. So like, let's talk about the first day or the first 2 days that you were off it entirely. Like, did you feel like you missed checking it? Because like a lot of the time I'm not posting, but I'm definitely on it. Like, I'm just scrolling through. I'm kind of like doing it that way. So was that something that you
fill
noticed?
your time with something else. So I started reading again. I'm kind of, again, like all or nothing, person of extreme, so I have to go cold turkey on something in order for it to stick. So I started by thinking, okay, maybe I could limit my time to 20 minutes a day. That wouldn't really work. And I also was like, that's a bit too much, you know, to be tracking that level of engagement. So I actually, so I went through a process. I have a happiness journal and it's actually really good. So it sounds so cheesy, but they're really, really good.
After your happiness
I know,
journal
because
there.
I'm like imagining people going, oh my God, what is she like?
No, it's great.
But at the start of the happiness journal, you have to identify things that make you happy and sad, people you love, words that describe you, behaviours you'd like to change. So it's a big kind of self-reflection process. And you have to write down the things that don't make you feel good. And Instagram was one of them. And then you have to commit an action to that.
Wow, okay.
So mine was get off Instagram. So when I write something down and I commit to it, I'm far more likely to follow through. And that's how I did it. So I didn't just kind of wake up one day and go, I'm not going to, check it. So I'm off Instagram and Facebook. I still use LinkedIn and Twitter, mostly for work, actually primarily only for work. And I don't have any kind of negative association with them. So again, like everyone will be different. So maybe people love Insta. And also it's really important for business. So anyone that has a consumer brand obviously needs to be there because that's where your people are. So again, unrealistic to think that we can all just live in this utopia where, we ditch the smartphones and we just focus on face-to-face communication.
Definitely, but I think you're talking about it in a really realistic term, as in like you just said there that you don't have a negative emotional, well you didn't say emotional, I'm just putting words in your mouth now, but I'm presuming it means that you don't have a negative emotional relationship with say Twitter and LinkedIn, and I'm exactly the same. I literally use them for work. I actually have more followers on Twitter than I do on Instagram, but I only post things for work, and I never think about what happens on Twitter because I'm not involved in Twitter like some other people are. Do you know that kind of way?
It's less visual as well, you see, so you're not getting judged on your looks.
Exactly, and
so that's the truth of it. You're being like Twitter, and there's a lot of crap content on Twitter too, but I do learn a lot from it, and I click through and I read articles from it. So I'm a big believer in kind of surrounding yourself with like better quality content, reading good books, reading good articles, and then staying away from some of the stuff on other social media channels, which can just be really negative.
I suppose one of the things, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, it's that kind of, it's almost the term and the phrase that we've become used to, and it's a joke. People say it as a joke, but I also think people live by it, whereby if you don't document something, did it actually happen?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a sad thing to say, but I definitely would have to hold my hands up and be like, if I'm away, like I've posted those pictures. I've posted the sausage hot dog legs on the beach pictures where I'm just like looking out at the ocean and stuff. And I mean, like I don't judge myself for doing that, but I understand, and I actually do feel a little bit jealous of people who can go and experience these incredible things and not document them, because they exist. Like they are there, but it's rare now. What do you think about that? Like, what would you?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I just think, why would you spend so much money and, money that you've worked really, really hard on a holiday if, for a lot of people now, one of the main reasons they're going is to make other people feel envious.
Like, is that true, though?
I don't know, but...
It seems it.
Yeah, doesn't it?
But I think that's a bigger issue than social media. That has to be a bigger issue than social media. Like, what have we done to ourselves that is what we're thinking? Like, what have we done to ourselves that we post a picture and we can literally be on a plane for, say, 15 hours in order to get to this amazing destination, and the first thing we're looking for is Wi-Fi. Like, and I know I'm not speaking for everybody.
What's Instagrammable around here?
Yeah, and it's not true for everybody, but it is true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think, I'm one of those people, 100%. And also social media is very important for my job, and I know that, and I appreciate that. But I mean, what I think about is, so our generation is so different to our parents. What's it going to be like in 30 years?
I don't know, and I notice now, even with younger people that I, come across, the inability to, a lot of times, craft, whole sentences, responding with emojis, and some of it's fine, but I do worry about whether they can, answer a phone.
Yeah.
Because people are so used to having the time to curate what they're going to say before they say it. So we're unable to become reactive, if you know what I mean. So you're kind of really panicky if you're suddenly put in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen next, because you're curating this perfect version of yourself and you're not being real.
Yeah.
And then you think you're fake. So it's kind of obvious when you break it down and you think about the issue. And there's some amazing authors in this space as well. Matt Haig is an incredible author. I went to see him at a literary arts festival earlier this year called the Curious Arts Festival in Southampton, and he was just so human and very open about this topic. He's written a couple of books. One of them is Notes on a Nervous Planet.
Yeah, and he speaks about the correlation between depression and social media highly in that book as well, doesn't he? And obviously we're not mental health professionals, so we can't really...
but he's really good, so I'd recommend, and if anyone's interested, that's a good book to start.
I think I want to ask, do you miss it? Do you miss those things, or do you feel like when you go back to, say, Instagram, or if you do go back to Instagram, do you feel like you might be one of those 1 in a million people who actually has a really nice, positive relationship with it?
I don't think I miss it enough to care about it that much.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. I mean, but it's the same with all addictions, isn't it? If you break something, because I fully do believe, like we say it almost in a jokey manner, but I do genuinely believe that I am addicted to social media. I think a lot of people would find it very difficult to step away from it like that. But I mean, you've done it, and it's like you're fine. You're a walking, talking, phenomenal woman, according to your t-shirt. So,
but it is actually quite an important topic, and it's one that was discussed at length at Web Summit this year, and a lot of people are aware of it. You know, they had the founder of Calm and people from Headspace, and talking about there's a whole trend around or shift towards tech for good versus, you know, tech for bad and tech for clickbait and all that kind of stuff. So people are aware of it, and they're also taking responsibility. So the people who caused it are kind of doing something about it now.
I saw this really nice thing that you wrote as well in this specific article about your kind of social media detox, which you ironically posted on social media, but that's fine.
Medium and Twitter.
Twitter, yes.
Medium's great. Like, I don't know if we consider Medium social media, but I love Medium.
Oh no, yeah, I was talking about Twitter, but you said ironically in the post, and I was like, I love that, beautiful.
I was like, where am I supposed to put this?
Yeah, like, but I mean, that's the thing, it's the modern age, so we have to like remember that as well. But I think you just had a swim or something like that, and you took a selfie, but you sent it directly to the person who had given you the book that you were reading at the time. And it was just like, that actually really kind of made an impact on me because you wanted to share a moment with someone. Yeah. And so you did that. But you shared that moment directly with the person that you wanted to share it with. Yeah. You weren't sharing it with however many followers you have, because like realistically, sometimes I forget. My brother kindly reminds me, nobody gives a shit, Niamh, what you ate for lunch. Like, they really don't. Like, and it doesn't matter.
Maybe a foodie would.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Some people do. But it is about almost thinking, like, why am I posting this?
What's the intention?
What is the intention? And your intention on that beach after your swim, which I hope was in the summer, by the way. Oh my God.
No, that's another thing I do all the time. I only went into the water on Sunday.
No.
Yeah, that's my other, you know, I was supposed to say vocation. It's just my pastime, jumping in the sea.
But that looked like a really lovely moment that you wanted to share with someone, and obviously there was a thought process. Like, you were sitting there, you took a selfie.
That was the exact day that I stopped using Instagram, by the way.
Really? Wow.
I took a lovely day off. I did my happiness planner, and then I went out to Dalkey and treated myself to a lovely lunch and a swim in the sea.
Wow.
Self-care.
Well, I mean, we've talked about self-care so much on this show. Big advocates of it. So important, yeah. But is that, I always think it's interesting as well, like, how have the people around you in your life reacted to this, in terms of, like, are a lot of your friends similar, or are they like, why is Aisling calling me? Like,
not really. So a lot of my, like, you know, our friends are our age and they have other things to worry about, and everyone's super busy and everyone has, you know, their job, and maybe in some cases they have kids or, you know, partner. So, no, not really. And then in work, we're all really, really open. I'm so lucky to work for a company who has this incredible culture. We hire really, really good people. So everyone's more just interested and curious than judgy.
right.
And obviously, you know, Huckletree as a brand is really strong on social media. So we've got an amazing Instagram account, and our head of brand, Emily, who actually gave me that book, is the voice of our company. And everyone understands, so they don't care. They don't mind that I'm not putting up a pic on Insta to promote Huckletree or whatever. Because again, it's your platform, and there's that really interesting debate of who are you representing? Because if you're online, you're also technically representing the company that you work for.
Absolutely,
so it's kind of blurred, boundaries there.
I would say,
so it's easier actually not to be online.
I would say I'm going to kind of challenge myself to do something over the Christmas period. And it's a huge step for me, although it probably doesn't sound like a huge step to anybody. And people are probably just like, Niamh, you're ridiculous. But around this time of year at Christmas, there seems to be like those kind of set pictures that every single person posts. So it's like the picture of the Christmas tree, it's the picture at Christmas dinner with your family all around, and it's the presents that you got off your mom, off your dad, off your boyfriend, off your significant other, whoever it is. So I'm going to really try and actually not post anything over Christmas and just see how that makes me feel, because like I know how many likes I'll get on them. It'll be the standard amount of likes that I get on every picture. I know people know what kind of Christmases I've had. I've been posting about them for years. So I'm just going to try and like literally put the phone down. And I know my mom listens to this and she's going to be so happy to hear that. But like, I'm just going to try and actually be in the moment. And if my dad wants to take a picture, of course I'm going to let him. But I'm going to really try and take away my phone from the experience of Christmas with my family.
Yeah.
Just to try it and just to see.
It's because, there's also a nice thing about documenting time with people you love, obviously. And the phone has just become the default camera, because a few years ago we would have used a real camera and you would have been able to document the moment, and you would have had a gorgeous picture with the people you love, and that's so important. And only this year, so I became a godmother, my sister had Max, and we suddenly have this beautiful baby in our family. So of course I'm going to be dying to take pictures with him, and I booked in a photography shoot for him, and it's not the picture, it's just the intention behind it. So don't
don't not take pictures. But it's just about, I just don't necessarily want to share it with everybody. That's it. Like, I want to document things, of course. It's like what I do, but I am going to try not to post and just see how that makes me feel.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so it is actually like a bit of a challenge for me, because it's not,
that is a challenge,
not something that I've literally done it, and like people have said, like I post a lot. More so on my stories than maybe the grid, but like I'm definitely
And do you
a poster.
look at who's seen your stories?
Oh,
and all that?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the people that you're like, yes, they've seen my story?
Not so much, because it's usually like the same kind of top people who look at them. Like the algorithm just throws them back up to the top. But yeah, the odd time you'd be like, oh, I wonder if that person saw this or that. Like it's just that classic kind of human nature that you feel like. And I think I remember like when I embarked on this career, when I left radio, I remember it being like I want like radio people to know that like I'm doing okay, you know? And at certain instances in your life, when you go through life, you almost want people to know that you're doing okay or that you're not doing okay. But the thing is that nobody puts up the bad things, like nobody is going to put up, like I'll never put up the hungover picture of me on Christmas morning, because I haven't not had a hangover on Christmas morning in like a decade. But like nobody sees that, So it's almost like what you said, we're curating our own lives, and I just almost want to. I don't want to show all the good things. I just want to experience them this year with my family.
Oh, great!
So,
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get a happiness journal yet, because I
wish it had a different title, because people just kind of go, oh. But it's actually really, really good.
A lot of people journal.
And it was also a gift from Emily, who gave me the book.
Oh, amazing.
So she is one of these amazing people in my... she's our head of branding content.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's another kind of theme. Surround yourself with people that you love, who you have a meaningful relationship with, and it's mutual.
Absolutely. So, I know a lot of people who journal, and it's incredible, and I used to all the time when I was a kid, and there's like some really embarrassing diaries knocking about. But I haven't really done it as an adult, and it's usually just I'm busy or I'm sleeping.
So you're such a good writer.
But I don't ever write, because I suppose I write so much like with my job that it's something about maybe equating it to, but I was gifted this beautiful journal there a while ago, and it's for 2019, so maybe I will. But I suppose it's just about like choosing the things that make you happy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got so much to do. Aisling, thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to let you go now. Thank you as well to Sinead and Aoife as well. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the Her.ie channel as well. And of course, if you're listening on all of the podcast apps, subscribe and like and give us a review as well. I'm Niamh Maher and we will chat to you next week.